This one is a 3-piece. It's called a Shamrock Rose. It's your lantana. So if you love lantana, these are live plants that are shipped to you. You're going to get the full 3-piece set, free shipping and handling for $34. Now this is one of our only annuals in our entire show.
Yes.
I also think too, what are the go-to plants that you plant every year? Do you feel like you also see that same plant at your neighbor's house and down the street? It's like almost so common.
Yeah.
You want something that feels a little special, a little different. For your annuals, come on in to the Shamrock Rose Lantana. So what is Shamrock Rose Lantana, Katie?
So Shamrock Rose Lantana is going to be a bloom house. So we just talked about the hummingbird mint, which is a perennial. This is an annual, and it actually knows it's an annual, so it's gonna bloom for you all season long. I have this in my front. When you walk up to my front door, there's, you know, I kind of have my stoop, and I have it at the front, because this is a beautiful flower that blooms all summer long. And we like to actually call it a weekend plant. What does that mean? Well, maybe you take a trip in the summer, you go away for the weekend. Some of your plants that are outside, you know, we don't get a lot of rain over the summer sometimes, especially maybe where you live. You come back and the first thing you need to do, or you come back and instead of being overjoyed by all of your beautiful flowers, it's like, oh gosh, I'm not gonna unpack, I need to water first. Forget that. With these, they are that weekend plant that are drought tolerant. These are planted up and down some of our drier parts of the country, like California, and they're used for median strips, if you can believe it, in those parts of the country.
Sure,
because
low
they'll
maintenance.
be low maintenance. I mean, this is the most low maintenance annual, which is something that you don't usually hear together. Low maintenance and annual, because they need a lot of water.
Yeah, and the little blooms, they almost look to me like little mini hydrangea blooms. You know what I mean?
I love that analogy.
They're like those miniature hydrangeas, or I know you've described them as little Barbie bouquets.
Yes, they are. And you can smell, they have like a lemony fragrance too.
Pretty.
A very light fragrance. Yes,
yeah,
a very soft fragrance. You can see here what she means by when I say a little Barbie bouquet.
It's so sweet.
It's kind of like our verbena, where you can see, and okay, so the other thing about this lantana, and this is a great example, it's kind of color changing, like the Rio Samba we have coming up. It starts out and it's got that orangey hue, and throughout the season it changes to pink and then to yellow. So across your entire plant, you have that firework display of those hot summer colors.
Remember, everybody gets the pamphlet, which is going to remind you again how much sun they need, full sun, whether they're an annual or perennial. These are the annual. So you'll replant them every year, but man, you're going to get a lot of blooms. And then lets you know how far to plant them apart. I think about, you know, when I walk through my neighborhood, because probably a lot of people at my neighborhood go to the same garden shops, and we see all the same annuals. And it kind of gets a little boring.
Yeah.
This is that way to add something that feels a little bit more interesting and special. So why don't you switch it up a little bit this year? Maybe you might mix this in with what you usually plant. Maybe it's some sun patience or something like that. Go right ahead. Mix this in with it. Or maybe you'll say, you know what, I'm just gonna go with the lantana this year. Why not? So in the ground, it could also be in your containers, flanking your front door on your deck.
Window boxes, again, because it is going to be that drought tolerant type of annual that will bloom like crazy. So yes, in ground, but you know, we put a lot of our annuals in containers. So think in container, window boxes, that beautiful cottage garden style where it doesn't get too big, but it gets to be about 24 inches tall, but will spread nice and wide. So with 3 plants here, you're getting 6 feet of coverage. So if you are thinking of doing it in a walkway, then you want to think, okay, is my walkway 6 feet? Maybe I need one for each side. Whatever you need, now is the time for planning. Because you know, you've repeated it, but we are reserving our plants now. We are not shipping them to you right now. We are only shipping them to you at the time to plant. But these are popular, so they can sell out.
Yeah, so when they ship out to you, it is ready to plant.
Yeah.
You reserve it now. You take that kind of stress of having to think about, gosh, I got to make my way to the garden store, and then this is what happened to us last year. We were busy because of sports and kids' activities and travel, and just life was happening, that around that time in our region in early May, when we're starting to get ready to plant, we didn't have time to run to the garden store and pick something out and plant it. take advantage now. This is that time of the year where many of us, things kind of slow down a little bit. We have a little space to plan.
Yes.
Our social cup was very full last month.
Now you're
so
recharging.
this month, yes, you're kind of like taking it easy. So this is that really good time. Think about your garden beds. When you went out there this fall and you were maybe cleaning up or prepping the garden bed, this is what my husband and I do, and anybody that lives in our neighborhood. If you see us, we're like standing in the middle of the yard and it's like just pointing and kind of planning like, oh, you know what, let's move this. Let's take this out. Let's try something here. Last year, this didn't really work. And it's so much fun.
It is fun.
You should experiment in your garden, whether it's a container, whether this is going to be planting in your garden beds. These are $34 and you do get 3. There's some nice substantial coverage, free shipping and handling on this, and a lot of blooms and a lot of color.
Yeah.
So it's M132511. You could give us a call to place your order. You put in your cart, and remember, we're not shipping it to you until it's ready to plant. It's just that early reservation to make sure you have something unique and special that you don't get at your typical garden store. That's why you come to QVC.
I love that you talk about like looking out at your yard, because the garden changes every year, and it's a great tip to maybe try something new this year. And this is a good place to start because it's an annual. You're planting it for one season. You're not making a huge investment in the garden. Try it out this season, and I promise you, like I did while I replaced some of my other annuals, you're gonna love it.
It's a great way to try Cottage Farm and shopping live plants with us on QVC. About 300 spoken for of our Shamrock Rose Lantana plant. You can shop for that on QVC.com. But it is heating up. I wish it was like heating up a little bit outside.
Yeah.
At least because I started training for a half marathon. It's been a little cold.